And we are live. So, everybody, welcome to my humble podcast. And today we're going to not dive into, we're going to take the high road to data engineering for good. And our guest, all the way from Malaysia, Ashir Hassan, who's a data engineer. And I wanted to grab him so that he can share his words of wisdom and he can sort of really help us uplift our careers for whoever is interested into data engineering and stuff like that. So, Asher, thank you so much for taking out the time and welcome to my humble podcast. I haven't thought of a name yet, but for now, let's go with the humble podcast. So, how are you, man? How's life?
I'm I'm good. Thank you so much, Avais, first of all, for the invitation. This is my first ever podcast I'm been invited into, and I was very excited for it. To be very honest, waiting for a very long time it to be happened.
Oh
So
yeah.
first of all,
Oh
thank you so
yeah.
much. Yeah, we
The
had a
last time, the last time, the last time we actually planned it, so LinkedIn was a bit hard on us, but I'm
exactly.
glad we made it. And how's Malaysia treating you?
It's fantastic. In Malaysia, when I came here,
Hmm.
I thought like Malaysia is all about like there will be Malay people mostly, and
Uh-huh.
there will be language issue maybe because they have their own language, Malay.
Hmm.
But when I came here, especially in the Kuala Lumpur, I can see like it's multicultural. I can see a
Really?
lot of different people. Like there are a lot of Chinese as well, which actually migrated here
Yeah.
many years before. So you can see a
Uh-huh.
lot of Malay people, Chinese, Indian as well, and a lot of expats as well. The language barrier in Kuala Lumpur is not a issue. Everyone can understand almost the English language, and when you are actually living, you also start to learn some other languages as well, a bit of maybe Chinese and Malay, which is actually very good to know things. And apart from it, I'm a foodie person, and Malaysia is all about food as well. You can
Really? Is
find
it? Is it? Is it?
different
Is it
type
that
of
good?
food here. Oh, very much. And you can find like every type of food: Western,
Uh,
Arabic, Turkish, Malay, Chinese. And in Chinese, there is a lot of every province have different food. So there are a lot of
Perfect. Perfect.
restaurants coming from different Chinese background. So there
Yeah.
is so much to explore and to eat as well. Korean food is one of the famous food, and personally, I like that as well. So
Great.
yeah, it,
That is some rock star insight, man. I'm
exactly.
really glad. I'm really happy for you. And I'm really
Thank you.
glad that you're settled in and you're really enjoying your time in Malaysia. So to the topic. So the topic, as you know it, it's data engineering, and I know you, as an individual, you really found it sort of you had to meander your way towards data engineering, and you had a particular struggle. So quite a lot of audience, within both of our communities might be interested in how they can shape or reshape their careers towards data engineering. So first of all, I would start with a very basic question, which is like, tell us about your journey, in terms of data engineering. How did you sort of crack it?
Right.
How did you made your way? How did you really found the right opportunities? So from the very start, like, what was it like for you,
Mhm.
given the opportunities here in Pakistan, and what were your challenges that you faced?
Right. So I graduated in 2019,
Yeah.
and back there in 2019, the IT was all about software engineering and QA. Like we only had two
Hmm.
options usually, what we saw in the company. And for software engineering, it was web development or mobile development. That
Hmm.
was all that were known to the fresh graduates.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I wasn't comfortable in web development because of my own issues. Like, I didn't work well in the university. There was some issue with my laptop and some personal issue as well. So I was
Wow.
afraid, and I was like, actually, uh, once there was an interview I was giving as a fresh graduate, and everything was okay. They were very satisfied. In the end, this they just asked about me. Okay, tell me about JavaScript. And I just said like, I don't know about anything, and they were shocked.
Hmm.
Then they
Hmm.
asked me a few things more, and I just said like, I'm not interested in the web. And they said
Hmm.
although they work in the cloud, but their front end and everything is in the web, and I have to learn it and work on it as well. So, and because of that, it was a good overall good opportunity, and I lost it. And I was not,
Were you like it was the interest from the very beginning, or
yeah.
is this something that you later on discovered that hey, I'm more of a data engineering guy?
You can say yes. Like, I at that time I didn't know about cloud computer and data engineering.
Hmm.
The only thing in my mind was I don't want to work in web.
Okay,
And
so
somehow
that was the
I
dilemma that you were sort of
exactly,
dealing with. Okay,
yes.
okay,
And
perfect.
then I got an opportunity in Nordwest Solutions, which is AWS partner company.
Uh-huh.
And when I gave the interview, it got cleared. And the only thing I saw, okay, they are working in AWS. Now, what is AWS? What is cloud computing? I don't know. They just
Hmm.
told me, yeah, they explained like, we are what is cloud computing, what we do, what is machine learning. And I was like satisfied, okay, it is something a part of web engineering, let's try this. So it was totally an you can say accident, but I was very glad that I jumped into it. And after just 1 year in 2020, like, it was, I don't know how, but people are so much aware about it, cloud computing and all that things. Like, my juniors, they started to ask me like, how do we get into your company? So just
Okay,
1 year before, which was totally unaware, after 1 year, people want to work on it as well. And I guess because of universities, because in that year university changes their course content, they introduced data warehousing and the cloud computing as well, and the students became more aware of it.
cool, cool.
So the starting was something like an accident for me, but I'm glad it happened, because things happen for
Ah,
good.
these
So
such accidents, brother, such accidents. Great.
exactly.
I'm glad you sort of found what you are interested in and what you like. And so another question here would be like uh, data engineering, right? As you said, it's been not everybody know everything about it. It have it has its subcomponents and how they are operated and stuff like that, and the whole functionalities of it. So the way you see it from a person who has been interested in data engineering from the very early days of his career, how have you seen this field change or evolve? So what are the struggles that you sort of had to overcome in order to really catch up with the with this field?
All right. So, taking the first question, how actually I see it, I see this field as a need. Like,
Indeed.
what we are actually doing, you can say, in other words, we are basically backend engineers who are working with different tools and technologies to provide the data. And this data can be used anywhere, maybe web, maybe in data science, or some other domain as well.
Yeah,
So, because of so much of the need of such engineers who can prepare the data, I guess this field came into being. That and in before, like, nowadays, data engineering is well known, but before that, people used to work this as well, but as a software engineer or as a backend engineer.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So passing this all year, how I see data engineering, like it's been evolved very much. Different tools and technologies are being introduced. There if you go to any, let's say, event or somewhere, there is a particular category of data,
Mm-hmm.
uh, which is all about like the text tools, best practices, what people are doing. And there are of course there are few f- things, hard faces things we see, like the scalability, maintainability. If there is a large amount of data, so we have to book a lot of checks, like quality checks. How can we scale it, maintain it, the support we provide, because we always try to make it automatic. So we want to optimize it so the human interaction is less, and it is more about all the things being in automated way.
Cool. Um, so yeah, I mean, obviously, just like any other field, it takes a time and to get till there. Obviously, in terms of scalability. So for the freshers, for people who are
Mm.
aware of data engineering, how do you propose that they prepare for roles? Maybe within the subcontinent or even in the West. Like how was the process for you? What are the certain tools that you had to equip yourself to be confident enough to really appear uh, for interviews for remote opportunities or opportunities abroad?
Right, that's a very good question. So I would say, first of all, choose some language. Hugely, I have seen Python is being widely used in data engineering, but Java and other fields are also being used, not as well. Uh, And first of all, just do this simple scripting like ETL. ETLs mean extract, transform, and load. Do some simple Python scripting, work around the data. How do we actually clean the data? What are the issues in a simple, like if there is a CSV file, we are reading it and storing that data in some database. So what are the common issues we saw? Uh, Issue with the date, null, empty. So just on the first step, just work around it. After that, the person who want to secure a job, let's say he want to secure a job in Germany, so he actually should see what tools are being used in that region and start to learn their tools one by one. One don't have to be the master or the perfection of this tool, but just should know how it is being used, what are
Yeah.
its pros and cons, in which situation this tool is best to use. So I would say like this is a good step to jump
Can you
into
name a
data
few
engineering.
tools, maybe something that the viewers can sort of pick up and probably start learning?
Yeah. So for the data engine, like web development, data engineering has a lot of different uh, you can say fields as well. So I would say like first start with the Python, then can jump into data warehousing. It is a very good concept and widely used in data engineering. I would say like many companies are using it. What is data warehousing, how it's different from database, what are its terminologies being used with it, and can also see the data lake.
Yeah.
After this, I would say like jump into the cloud computing as well, because almost in every data
Is there
engineering we are.
any specific technology or specific service that you propose? I mean,
Yeah, I
which one
was
actually did you use?
I have always used AWS till now, and
Okay.
in AWS the services I have used, it is Lambda, it's serverless.
Okay.
Glue, also used in ETL widely. Redshift, which is data warehouse. If
Okay.
we go for the data lake, so we use S3 as a storage mostly.
Uh-huh.
So mainly these are the tools. which are used in the. There's a lot of other tools as well, EMR and all that, Hadoop and Spark, that the big
Mhm.
data technologies. But for a starter, I would say these are the tools which are better to start with.
Great, great. So that's like a initial toolkit for anybody who wants to sort of step
Ex-
into data engineering.
Exactly, exactly.
Perfect. And do you think this is enough, or like how do you prepare for the interviews? Like frequently asked questions. Where can the audience really get all the help from? Any I know AWS has a huge community, and they have like all these they might have these frequently asked questions or documentation and stuff like that. But did you follow something special to sort of land your job or to prepare for your interviews?
Right. So maybe before my answer would be different, but now my answer would be just a chat GPT. So that's the most easiest way
isn't
to
isn't
get
that isn't
the.
that the answer these days?
Exactly. It's most convenient.
Mm,
Apart from it,
yeah,
how I worked on. So since I was already into this field, so
yeah,
I already know the basic things like Python, working on the serverless thing, doing the ETL work with different services. So these were the basic things which almost every data engineering field need when we give interview. Apart from it,
perfect.
I worked on the job description, like what tools they are using, what they need, and what do I have. So because mostly the interviewer they ask from your profile what you have done.
Okay,
So I have to be strong in that thing. So whatever I have worked on, I can give a better answer to them. And what technologies they are using, at least I should know how basic things of it. So if they ask something related to it, I can answer. Although I may
great,
not be
great.
having the practical, but on theoretical level, I should know.
Great. So, a follow-up question would be like, what's your day like as data engineer? How does your day look like? What are your key responsibilities? Or as a data engineer, if anybody's hired or if anybody aspires to be a data engineer, what would they do? Like, what would be their key responsibility within an organization or a specific project?
Right. So the work is because I have almost like 4 years of experience. So
Uh,
responsibility changes with respect to the seniority level. So right now, my responsibility is to number one, what the tools and technologies we are using uh, came with the best output we can do. The
mhm,
optimization, if brings something new to the table, if there is something new, you can say framework, tools, or maybe something new technology being used, which we can say can optimize our product. We have to bring that. Uh, uh, Apart from it, the things we are using, like the data sources, we have to make it more scalable and optimize, and how we can reduce the time as well. And of course, optimization. This is one of the need of every business. We look that into it as well.
okay, do you follow any specific patterns or do you just follow what AWS has to offer in terms of well architected framework?
We are using few services there as well apart from the AWS. For example, for orchestration, we use Airflow or Dexter, and for the
Okay.
data warehouse, we use Snowflake. So we have, you can say, a wide range which we are working into it, and always looking into something new. And it depends on the company. Like my company is very much open for the new technologies and tools, and they want to be something like a innovative, be the
Uh-huh.
leaders. So that's a
Okay.
good part of it.
Okay.
So yeah, so these things changes with respect to the company. Yeah.
Gotcha. Uh, okay. So as a data engineer, what are like the top two common issues that every data engineer faces, and how can you sort of overcome it?
Top two, I would say, first of all would be the issues with the data. Like whenever we are getting data with this on the sources,
This is
uh,
not the first time. This is not the first time I'm hearing it. I'm actually doing this training also. This is regarding Power BI. So the issues around data itself is like the highlight of any product, any project. So
exactly.
I cannot say I feel your pain because I haven't really gone through those kind of issues myself, not at least of that complexity or scale. But yeah, that's a good laugh.
So what actually happens, like
Like,
uh,
are there like specific patterns that you follow, or do you guys have a checklist? Like, okay, these are things that are always a must go solution, and these are some of the solutions that depend on scenario to scenario. How do you navigate such a situation?
exactly, that's what you have mentioned is the right way. We have some checklist, like
Okay.
the do's and don'ts, which
Uh-huh.
are common. Like
Okay.
and there are some things like we have to actually think what can happen in future, about different scenarios. So when we actually
Okay.
code, like this is the difference I have seen between web development and the work we doing the data engineering. In data
Okay.
engineering, our code is not like thousands lines of code or something, but our time is
Uh-huh.
mostly spent on the logic building. Like, what if we have a source, we are getting data from it. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
what can change in future? So we how we can like make it so much resilient. So if any failure happens, it can work around it itself. So we are
Mm-hmm.
more towards the this logic building in the data. So for example, if there's a long JSON, and some part of it is missed by the source, and you haven't put that check in your code,
Mm-hmm.
it will just break down. So we have to see a lot of such things. For example, if some garbage data came from the source,
Mm-hmm.
or
Mm-hmm.
some wildcard happens in it,
Mm-hmm.
so what could happen in it? So there
Okay.
are a lot of small things as well that we need to check. And yeah, of course, as you said, things changes from data sources to data sources. Uh, so before jumping into it, I thought like once we have made a pipeline and that's over, because data is
Mm-hmm.
coming, it's going into destination. But in the real scenario, that doesn't happen. There is always something new in the source,
Mm-hmm.
and we have to work around it in our logic as well. So
Yeah.
yeah, so it's like ongoing thing. Sometimes if we are
Got
dealing
it.
with the
Got it.
API, the API would change. uh, the data, how it's sending the pattern, it could change as well. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so that's the ongoing process.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay, $1 million question. I think everybody asks at least this question to every data engineer. So, what is the difference between a core data engineer and some guy who's like in a role of data science or data analytics? Like how do these roles differ? And uh, just just so that you can paint out the differences, it would be more easier for people. For example, hey, I thought data engineering is something like this, but it turned out to be something like that. You know. So yeah,
Yeah.
how do you clear the air? Like, okay, this is data science, this is data analytics, and this is data engineering.
Yeah, that is really $1 million question, because almost everyone asks this question. And yeah, because it seems so much similar. Uh, So
And these
I
are
would,
and these are very recent.
yeah,
I mean, if you see the market, most of the roles have been introduced recently. When I say recently, I would say in the last uh, like 5, 6, or 7
exactly.
years.
Yeah,
So yeah.
that is absolutely right. So data engineering, suppose there is a company and they have some
Okay.
engineers who get data
All
from
right.
different sources, and it could be a few APIs, flat files,
Mm-hmm.
maybe data stream as well. When they
Uh-huh.
get the data, they clean it and put it in some data source,
Mm-hmm.
right? So this job is of data engineering, getting
Okay.
the data,
Mm-hmm.
preparing with respect to the need, and store it somewhere.
Okay.
Once it is stored, now the data is ready to be utilized. Now,
So cleaning the data and
yeah,
removing the discrepancies and placing
exactly.
it into a data lake or a data warehouse. So that's data engineering.
Yeah, storage could
Okay.
be anything. It could be even the S3 in a as an
Okay.
object
Okay.
or
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
a file.
Yeah. Depending on the
Exactly,
companies and or
depending on the
depending on the projects.
things.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
So after this, the data science and data analytics work come into. So data
Hmm.
science use this data to maybe because data science itself is a wide range. So
Yeah.
the data scientist can use it for the machine learning,
Hmm.
data processing part for the training. Data analytics can use that data to extract the insights and make
Hmm.
the data driven decisions for the company.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's
Got it.
where these rules come.
Right. And data analytics is more like representing it in terms of reporting and stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. They are
Do you
mostly,
think do you think all the companies have these segregated roles, or most of the companies might merge these roles into one? For example, a data engineer, uh, in case like if you're a data engineer, you might be storing the data, like you said, and you'll also be responsible of creating a machine learning model over it or something like that. Is that
yeah,
true or
yeah, that is true. It depends on that
okay?
resource, skill set, and on the company as well.
Uh-huh.
I have
Yeah.
seen that like a few companies have actually merged, like for example, data scientist and machine learning engineer. There's a very difficult to actually differentiate sometimes because both are almost doing the overlapping work.
Uh-huh.
So
Okay.
it it so it depends. I have seen data scientists who are preparing data as well, although this is the data
Hmm.
engineering part, but sometimes they do prepare. So things I have seen things being overlapping as well, which happens company to company and the skill set as well. For
Has
example,
this ever happened to you? Like, have you been responsible for more
uh,
than just creating a data warehouse or a data lake?
I guess no, not really. Like till now,
Okay.
my work has always been into the data engineering part, providing data for the our analytics team or the web team,
Uh-huh.
but haven't
Uh-huh.
done other roles as well, like data science or the analytics part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but although I'm like myself, I'm working a bit on the machine learning part or the data science part for my learning.
Got it. Got
But
it. Got it.
at company level, I haven't been experiences.
Got it. Right. So you mentioned that you have to sort of clean up the data. So what is like the procedure around it? Like how do you for example, if a client approaches you or a company approaches you with their data in Excel sheet, so what would be your next step? So how do you divide that task?
Right,
Do you create a pipeline around it? And how, if yes, then how does that operate?
right. So my first step is always to study the data. Although
Okay.
this is not the like they are by study there are two things, but know the columns, your data fields in it, and the business requirement inside. So the business
Okay.
requirement doesn't come under data engineering part. That's the data
Hmm.
analytics part, or maybe the data science part. But
Okay.
know your data. I guess this is the first step.
Know your data. Know your
Yeah,
data, guys. Know your data.
yeah. The second step is the know the requirements in it. Like the data is coming, it could be the maybe 100 fields, but
Hmm.
the requirement could be just only 10. So and also should know the future requirements as well. Like
Hmm.
the requirements always change. Maybe the client is saying he needs 10 fields, and maybe the next day he can say two more fields to add or something like that. So we have to be like thoughtful about it, like what future changes can come. So our code design should be scalable for that as well.
Okay.
So the planning is the most crucial part of it, with respect to the
Yeah.
data,
It
which
always is.
tools and technologies we want to use. Uh, I guess this is the always first step to do. Once this has been cleared, the things become much easier. The creating the pipeline, uh, the we have to design the quality check as well. Uh, but if we have to see about the data validation as well,
Hmm. Hmm.
and the how data will be stored in destination, and of course like today, if the let's say if I'm my storage database, so if I had
Hmm.
1 GB or 2 GB of data, it's okay, but if I have data in terabytes, so it would be difficult for the database as well.
Yeah. Obviously.
So we have to see the future aspects as well. In future, after maybe
Right.
5 or 10 years, uh,
Limitations of every platform.
exactly.
And yeah.
So
And
this is
what's the process of, sort of creating that pipeline? You like you said that AWS is the platform that you have always used. So maybe if you could shed some light
yeah,
on that particular aspect.
yeah. So I can share like one use case. There was a client who approached me, and
Hmm.
he already had a website, and
Hmm.
what he wanted to do is get data from different AWS accounts,
Hmm.
uh, and store that information in his databases.
Okay.
So that was his, you can say, startup he was doing.
Yeah.
So we first of all we talked about different data we will be having, the storage as well, and the tools
Yeah.
we will be using. So we agreed for the AWS Lambda for that because of the
Okay.
scalability.
Okay.
It's serverless, and it will cost less at that particular
Yeah.
moment.
Okay.
So that this is how, like, there were different things we deal, how which tools to use. After that, it was just like building this stuff, trying
Hmm.
it out, and see the for some particular or potential issues that
Hmm.
we could face in the future, and its
Okay.
scalability as well. Like because every tool technologies has its limitation. Lambda has it as
Absolutely.
well.
100%. a hundred
Exactly.
percent.
So we should know,
Cool.
like, for example, Lambda has 15 minutes limitation. So we should know like the task shouldn't exceed 15 minutes. So
Like,
these were
is
the
there a cap on the data or the amount of data that you can operate
uh, uh,
besides the time limitation?
yeah, in Lambda, there is also storage. Like if we want to store the data in that particular, because data works on the Dockers, so there are
Hmm.
limitations of the data we can keep if we want to like create a file and store in S3 or somewhere. So although there are different things now, like we can attach a volume for that.
Okay.
So, but yeah, these are the things. Once I actually faced that, so by default I guess it is 512 MB, the storage they give in that temporary storage in the Lambda.
Okay.
So there was one particular, we can say, the accounts I was working with, the source basically, that was exceeding it. So
Hmm.
there can be such scenarios, and we have to like then debug it. Where is the issue, and come up with some solution.
Cool, cool, cool. So, yeah, quite a lot of questions from my end. Thank you for answering all of them.
It's my
So
pleasure.
I have like one question, one last question, before we sort of wrap this up. So, what are like the top uh, certifications that you propose for anybody who aspires to be a data engineer? Like, like at the top of your head, or like platforms where they can sort of learn from.
So for learning, if they want to learn like some particular platform, I have
Hmm.
seen like Coursera. They have courses for the data engineering.
Hmm.
In Coursera, IBM also introduced that data engineering courses, and Google
Okay.
has also courses that, and one can take that as well. Apart from it,
Okay.
AWS has also different trainings, online training or in-person training as well. Uh, so one can join that as well. And for the certifications, yeah, Google have certification for the data engineering. Uh, AWS has just recently introduced its data engineering associate last month, which is in beta right now. And most probably in the first quarter of next year, it will be confirmed from that side as well. Right now, they are
Okay.
testing around it. They have
Oh
big
yeah,
data
I saw that.
specialty.
I saw that.
Oh, nice. And they have big data specialty as well, AWS. So that's a bit high level because it's the specialty. So one can go for that as well if there's that particular level of experience. Apart from it, learning data engineering, they can work on different tool technologies as well if they don't want to follow some particular course.
Hmm.
Like because there are always pieces like orchestration tool, the how can you work on the data engineering, like the tools, maybe serverless architecture, event driven
Yeah.
architecture. These are few things that are coming into it. And moreover, like machine learning is also being introduced, like how we can integrate and transform the data using the machine learning. So these are the, you can say, just recent development in the data engineering field.
Perfect. Perfect. Yeah, that helps, man. That helps tremendously. So I believe on that note, we can sort of wrap up our humble podcast. So
Great.
I would
That's
thank
a
you
good
so
name, by
much,
the way.
man. Yeah. No, I'm not keeping it. It's not that cool. At least, yeah. Everybody has humble beginnings, but we should name it in a something more impactful or cool, like in your face, something like
Like
that.
a good podcast, greatest of all times.
That's a bit cliche, but yeah, we can think about it. But hey,
That's it.
thank you so much, man. Thank you so much for taking out the time. Thank you so much for being the very first guest in my podcast series. And thank you for sharing the knowledge. Hopefully, we can do this again in more detail. And if there are specific questions around, certain toolings and stuff like that, maybe we can have a second episode. But overall, man, really happy for you and congratulations. And I'm sure that whatever you're doing is, serving your purpose in a longer run. So
Thank you so
yeah,
much,
that
Abbas,
on
for
that
the
note, we're dropping the mic. Like
great.
I cannot drop this mic. But yeah, man, thank you so much. Thank you whoever's watching. Thank you so much for watching. And if you have any questions, please you know where to stack them. Please ask us within the comment section. And wait, we have like one question. I want to start my career as a data engineer, entry level. Where can I take the necessary training? Yeah, any leads, any like quick leads,
Yeah, the easiest way is to go
like a
for
like
some
a quick resource.
yeah, I would say the easiest way is to go for some course like Coursera courses from IBM or Google,
Uh-huh.
because that would be the, you can say, the pathway they have given. Easiest way, I would say. So that would be the good for the entry levels, because apart from it, they can work on the ETL part as well. But I have seen like people get confused which tools to use, because there are a lot of things. So the best way is to start some course. That would be the easiest guided pathway, and after that they will be uh, they will be knowledgeable enough to see the market. Yeah.
Perfect, perfect. If you have any more questions, we're here to answer it, even if the stream ends. So on that note, yeah, thank you, Ashir, once again, and whoever's watching, thank you so much for taking out the time. And I hope you've learned something today. I have learned something today. So yeah, thank you. Catch you guys back again, and yeah, have a great evening. Have a great weekend ahead. Bye.
Bye. Take care. Thank you.